I want to say it was last summer, late last year, we had quite a discussion here on the show when there was talk about the Mountain Accord and American Fork Canyon and expansion of Snowbird there. And it really, a lot of people were saying, wait a minute, we don't want this. Well, now Snowbird is now looking at some expansion, but it's quite a bit different. And I thought we'd talk today with Bob Bonner. He is the CEO of Snowbird Ski and Summer Resort, along with Colby Rollins, who also is with Snowbird, about the situation. Bob, how are you guys? Welcome to the show.
Good, doing great.
How's the ski season?
The ski season's gone really good. We've been blessed with really good snow this year, Rod, and ski season's going great.
A lot of skiers?
Yes, a lot of skiers.
Good,
yeah,
good.
Doing good.
Good, that's great.
Yeah,
Bob,
you.
You wrote an op-ed piece in the Deseret News last week talking about what you want to do in American Fork Canyon and some of the opposition to it and why, the opposition out there really doesn't understand what they're talking about or really fully understand what you want to do. What does Snowbird want to do in American Fork Canyon?
Well, Rod, thank you. I think that's a really good place to start, is just to clear up a little bit on what we are proposing and what we want to do. And we are proposing to place 2 ski lifts in the very upper part of American Fork Canyon in Mary Ellen Gulch, to realign 1 lift, again, in Mineral Basin, again, in upper American Fork Canyon, and do a zip line. So 2 new ski lifts, 1 realign, a zip line, all on our private property in the very upper part of American Fork Canyon.
Could this be called an expansion? How would you characterize this, Bob?
I would call it an expansion, Rod. We've had the 2 lifts existing for 17 years in Mineral Basin, but the lifts will be new in Mary Ellen Gulch. We have skied there for quite a while. We've skied there for probably 30 years with the helicopter, and more recently in the last few years with snowcat skiing, but I would still view that as an expansion.
Okay. Would they have access to the, I mean, Craig, I don't know the area, so I'm going to ask some very basic questions. I mean, do they currently have access to Snowbird and the ski resort through American Fork Canyon?
No, they don't. Not as you would, not on an automobile.
Not
or
whatever. And would you, with this expansion, would things change? Would there be increased traffic there?
No, there would be no increase in traffic in the road in American Fork Canyon. We're actually a long ways from Tibble Fork and a long ways from, Silver Lake and some of the other, more notable places there. We're quite a distance away from those. So no increase in traffic in American Fork Canyon.
Colby, let me ask you, why is this expansion important to Snowbird?
I'm glad you asked that question. I got to know Dick Bass a couple years ago, who is kind of the visionary behind this. And he joined up with the Cumming family, and Cumming is also much of a visionary. And really, this is about expanding for the next 30, 40, 50 years and providing good recreation for as many people as we can, both those that are local and those that come into our communities and recreate.
I saw how competitive is the ski industry right now here in the state of Utah? I mean, you've got the whole Park City situation. I saw an article in one of the papers today. There's more land being opened up. We may get another resort somewhere here in the state of Utah. How competitive is it, Bob? And does this expansion allow you to stay competitive?
Rod, it allows us to stay competitive. It is a very competitive business. If you look at just the improvements that were made in the Utah resorts, you mentioned over in the Park City area this past year. Also, they did some great improvements at Solitude this past year. So it really does help Snowbird and Little Cottonwood Canyon stay competitive, which is really important to us. And it also allows us to provide that infrastructure and additional outdoor recreation opportunities for our growing population here in the valley.
Okay. Have you got to expand outside of what you already own, or will this expansion take place on property you already own?
This expansion that we just talked about is entirely on Snowbird's private property. It involves no public land or additional land. It's all on our private property.
Okay, would this need, and I'm not sure which one could answer this, would this need any type of EPA approval? Because are you going to impact the watershed? And as a result of that, does that need EPA approval?
Does not need EPA approval. We need to apply to all state standards and standards in Utah County, which we'll do. But does not need specific EPA approval.
Okay. What does this do for the skier? Colby?
Well, I think this adds an additional opportunity to ski terrain that's not already currently being skied. And we're looking forward to giving them more terrain to move around the resort and see different parts of both American Fork and Little Cottonwood Canyon. It's some of the most beautiful part of the country. And we think it's a great opportunity to allow those both that can ski today, but then Wasatch Adaptive Sports, who Snowbird sponsored for 30 years, can allow skiers that normally wouldn't get to that terrain to get there.
You know, I've lived in Utah almost 40 years, and I've never driven up American Fork Canyon. I got to get a life, guys. Let me ask,
Beautiful.
Bob, what are some of the criticisms that you hear about this expansion, and how would you like to respond? What are the concerns that people are saying, and how would you like to explain what you're trying to do?
So, Rod, good question. I think that the biggest issue right now, or the biggest concern, is will Snowbird impact our precious water quality? And, you know, I'd like to go back to Colby mentioned Dick Bass, and, you know, that we're, you know, now partners with the Cumming family. And, you know, Rod, and I'm going to tie this in with water quality, because it has always been their commitment that we do things the right way or we don't do them. And I think our record speaks for that we've, you know, operated in Little Cottonwood Canyon for 45 years and in American Fork Canyon for 17 years with our ski and ski-related facilities. And we have not had a negative impact on water quality. And so I think that is completely our goal with this expansion project into Mary Ellen Gulch, is that we will undertake a 2-year monitoring process to establish a baseline on water quality. And then through the whole construction project, the water monitoring plan will continue and go beyond that, because we are completely committed to not have a negative impact on water quality back there, and for that matter, there and everywhere at the resort and places that we operate. So that's our commitment, and I think that that's the biggest concern. We will not have a negative impact on water quality.
How about the concern about traffic? Will it increase traffic into the area?
Into the Snowbird area?
Yeah, into the Snowbird, or into American Fork Canyon. Will it increase traffic in any way?
Not in American Fork Canyon at all. And as far as the Little Cottonwood Canyon side of it, you know, Rod, we did a study on that, and you know, the study basically showed on our busy days we can't get more cars up there. So our hope is that with this expansion, that we'll get our guests and the tourists to stay an extra day and come on some of our non-peak days to come visit the resort.
Okay. Final question for you. Where do you stand on this? Where are you at approval? What has to happen now? Colby?
So we're visiting with local municipalities. The group that's leading it up is American Fork City, and we've got a 60-day period that will end April 7th, where we visit with the Board of Adjustment about where we've come to in water quality monitoring. We feel like we're getting close to a point where we'll agree to an agreement where we'll monitor for a couple years, and that'll be acceptable to the local municipalities. I live down in Lehigh, and so I'm a local resident down there, and I understand the need for a good quality of water, and we're committed to doing that both now and in the future.
Do you need state or federal level approval to do any of this, Bob?
Not federal level, no.
No, and so just on a local or a state level, right?
Correct.
When do you hope, if everything goes as planned and you get everything approved, when would you start working on this expansion?
So we've committed to the 2-year water study in the Mary Ellen Gulch area. So and with the lifts in Mary Ellen Gulch, we'd hope to begin construction after we've successfully completed that 2-year monitoring period.
Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting to see how
Rod.
it goes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming in and talking to us about this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. More coming up on the Rod Arquette Show. Talk Radio 105.9.